Hello, everyone. Cecil Martin here.
Hey, this is Hunter Henry.
What's up, man? This is Max Crosby, part of Raider Nation.
Hey, this is Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman.
Hey, it's Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, this is Jerry Judy, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and you're listening to the 14-Yard NFL Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Full 10 Yards NFL podcast. I am your host, Sam Moores, and the days are ticking down towards Thursday's NFL draft. And what a better way to start the preparations for that by doing a Full 10 Yards mock draft. After all the trips around the needs for each team over the past few weeks, it's time to simulate the draft and what we think is going to happen as well, or what we would do if we were the league's general managers. And joining me to do that is our very own Liam Horsley, the host of the Go for Two podcast, which is on the Full 10 Yards network. It's come around quickly, hasn't it, Liam? Because it's a week earlier than it normally would be, the draft, but it's just flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has really flown by. I think free agency was quite fun this year, the first week or so. And then it feels like this is a year where it's kind of died off a bit in the last 2 weeks. So I feel like everyone's just been waiting for draft day, which is really, really good. And we'll talk about some picks, but very rare as well. The number one pick overall this early, but I still feel like the rest of the draft is so intriguing that everyone's buzzing for it. So yeah, should be a good pod. And then good night Thursday onwards for anyone that's staying up like me and going to brave the 5 a.m. finish on Thursday and Friday night. So yeah, should be good.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm staying up and I've got to be at uni by 10, so that's going to be fun on a Friday morning. But luckily, I will be talking about the draft on Friday, so it's fine. It's sort of my excuse, so it's all right. But it does fit. Okay, so in this draft, I'm going to have the odd number picks, so like 1, 3, so on. Liam's going to have the even numbers, so I will start with the number one overall pick, just so we can get that out of the way. And we can trade between each other as well if we feel suit. We're doing it on the PFF mock draft simulator as well, which is the one that most people use. And that's it. We'll get underway. I'll press enter draft now, and we'll start off quickly. We'll start with the Bears drafting Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, number 1 overall. It feels like this is, as you mentioned just earlier, Liam, it feels like this has been the de facto guy for, almost a whole year. Sort of, he had a difficult year at USC last year, but I think a lot of people say that the talent around him, and especially with the offensive line and the defense, it was really hard to win. But you can just, by watching him, you can just see the talent, can't you? You can see why he's the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really good player, very good prospect. Probably not quite on the Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence sort of level for most people coming out, but maybe the next best guy after that in terms of most people's grading. So yeah, really good player. Kind of fits the new style quarterbacks we see with like the Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud kind of movement, but can also stay in the pocket and throw the ball type player. Like you said, his support cast was pretty bad last year. That's one of the big knocks on him, is how bad last year went, but a lot of that was on other people. We'll talk about the other guys in a minute, but I have it a bit closer between 1 and 2, but he's definitely number 1 for me, and I think, to be honest, for everyone that you're probably going to hear for the next week to the draft.
Right, Liam, you are on the clock as the Washington Commanders general manager.
So now, is this what we think is going to happen, or what we would do?
We'll do like a bit of both, what you would do, but then also we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, cool. So I'm not sure this pick will happen, but the odds do keep changing. But for me, number 2 would be quarterback from UNC, Drake May, going to the Commanders. He's number 2 for me. He's a lot closer to Caleb than he is to the third quarterback on my board and on my grading scale. Very good player, basically the kind of stereotypical quarterback that teams have wanted for years. He's big, strong, physical, really good arm, can move around a lot as well. Probably similar, to be honest, to Justin Herbert, but the difference is he probably doesn't check the ball down enough, and probably Justin Herbert slightly checks the ball too much. Drake May's always looking for a 40, 50-yard bomb down the field. That's kind of his thing. But yeah, very good player. A little bit more raw, I'd say, than Caleb Williams and a couple of the next guys we'd talk about. But if you've got patience, which I feel like with the new GM, new ownership group, 2-year kind of window for Drake May will be really good. So yeah, I've gone for Drake May, but I'm not sure. We're not sure on Thursday who will be the pick at this one, but I'll go with the better quarterback for me.
Awesome. So I am on the clock now at number 3 with the New England Patriots, and it's a difficult one because will they take a quarterback, or will they delay that to later on in their rebuild of their regime? It is quite a difficult a difficult choice to make, especially because you're going to have teams ringing up, like Minnesota, for example, saying we want to trade up, we want our guy because they've got their 2 first-round picks, and it's a tough one. I think I'm gonna make the trade. I think I'm gonna trade up with Minnesota because I own both those picks as well.
Trade it with yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade it myself. I'm gonna package 11 and 23 for pick number 3. And they may add some more, but I think just because those picks are in this draft, that's probably the 2 realistic ones that are going to get added. Minnesota may be that desperate that they might put in next year's first as well, but then they have no picks for the next forever, so you never know. Or they may do like a future first even beyond that because you can trade later years now. So yeah, I'm gonna trade up from 11 and 23 as Minnesota, and I'm gonna draft Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU, Heisman Trophy winner, of course, and it's someone as well that I think he could benefit from sitting behind Sam Darnold. He may play. He may play the first season, maybe first 6 games or something like that, maybe into a bye week, and because you've got Sam Darnold there as well. That's the case. You've also got some of the best offensive coaches in the league there as well, which I think will help the development of Daniels. So I think this, if he's on the board there, and I think if May's on the board at 3 as well, I think this could happen. Or if the Patriots do not take a quarterback, then they could go to 4. Or if they do, they may even trade up for JJ McCarthy. If there's one thing that is certain, the Vikings will need a quarterback from this draft. That's why they've traded back into the first round again. I'm going to take Jaden Daniels. What's your thought on this pick, Liam?
Yeah, I like it. Like the pick. And if that was the trade, just 2 picks, it'd be a very cheap trade as well. So
yeah, that's what I mean. I think there would be more to add on, but I think it's...
Yeah, you never know, though, how it's going to go. It always depends how many teams want to trade up, doesn't it, for that pick. I think, to be honest, between us, the Vikings were going to trade up for 3, 4, or 5. To be honest, I think that's realistic. I think that's going to happen on draft night. I do agree with you that if at the moment, obviously, I picked Drake May, but it seems like Jaden Daniels is the favorite for number 2. I think if Drake May is on the board at 3, I think you could definitely see this trade because I think the Vikings, from everything you hear, love Drake May. I personally have Jaden Daniels better than JJ McCarthy, so I think the pick makes sense. But you're right. The Vikings to get 2 first-round picks and not move up would be a bit of a surprise, I think, now for everyone. So, yeah, I think it's a good pick. And I think, to be honest, for New England, with Drake May off the board and Caleb off the board, I think it's probably a good trade for New England as well, to be honest. I don't think they're ready to have a project quarterback play it with all the lack of weapons they've got and lack of offensive line.
Awesome. Now, Arizona review. What Marvin Harrison, or do you fancy somebody else?
I would love a trade here with the Broncos.
This is where they have the ammunition to do that.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it's come out this week as well that obviously Cardinals really want another tackle to play opposite Paris Johnson in the top 10. So that probably leads me to not taking Marvin, but I just think at the moment it'd be hard because the Vikings have already traded up in this scenario. I probably would have been asking you for a trade here. Yeah. So if this does happen, I will go Marvin Harrison and say that Broncos don't quite come up. But I think, if the Vikings trade doesn't happen at 3, I think it happens at 4 for me on draft night. So, yeah.
And do you see Marvin Harrison as the complete receiver, or are you someone who do you think he's like clear above the likes of Malik Neighbors and Madunzi, or do you think the 3 are very, very close?
No, I think the 3 are very close. I think any of 3 could be the best receiver in the draft, to be honest. They're all very different as well. I think Marvin Harrison is basically good at everything. He's not bad at anything, but he doesn't have as many of the kind of like elite skills for me as what Malik Neighbors does. But Malik Neighbors does have some weaknesses to his game. Like Marvin Harrison, you're going to struggle to find find a weakness. And I think with that offense as well, from a Cardinals perspective, he fits quite well with Kyler Murray trying to get the ball down the field outside, like we used to see with DeAndre Hopkins back in the day with him and Kyler. So, yeah, I think Marvin's very, very good. I don't have him graded as high as Jamar Chase coming out, for example. But he's the next guy after Jamar Chase on my grading, and then Malik Neighbors is third. So they're in very good company with how good they are as receivers. And I think, to be honest, in the top 10, whichever order they go in, I don't think the teams are gonna complain. It's one of those where every offense needs a different type of receiver. So whichever one they get is a good pick, I think.
Absolutely, and that leaves me with the Chargers now, and this is a difficult one as well because with the absolute abundance of weapons they've lost over the offseason, you'd like to think they'd address that. But with new regime, this obviously Tom Telesco is now the GM of the Raiders. Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach as well, coming over from Michigan. So we don't know what this regime are going to do. There's a lot of talk about going offensive line, as we mentioned in the AFC podcast this week. But their offensive lines, it's not bad by any means. And I just feel like if someone like Malik Neighbors on the board, especially with their lack of talent at receiver, at running back, at tight end, I feel like just I feel sorry for Justin Herbert not to have a weapon. So I'm going to give Justin Herbert a weapon. I'm going to give him Malik Neighbors. And
I'm interested in a trade up here.
No, I mean I know. What would you offer? That's the thing.
So with the Broncos, and it would be first round pick for the next 3 years.
Yeah, but it's in division, isn't it? So it's like
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I would do if I was the Broncos. 3 firsts, 12-5.
No, I'm not letting the Broncos take a quarterback.
Cool.
Malik Neighbors going to the Chargers, explosive, and I think there's a real lack of explosiveness in that offense right now. So I think that just makes sense.
Yeah, I love Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison is my number 1 on my big board, but Malik Neighbors is my favorite receiver to watch. He's very, very good. He'll fit playing with Justin Herbert pretty well as well, which is good. And they need wide receivers for sure, like you said. Pick 6 then. No trade up has made this easier for me because Daniel Jones just cannot stay as the Giants quarterback forever. Their ownership group are going to love JJ McCarthy. They're going to love his leadership style. They're going to love the fact he's won in college. They're going to love that he's very stereotypical old school quarterback. So yeah, I'm going to go JJ McCarthy out of Michigan for the Giants. I think this could happen on draft day as well. I wouldn't trade up for JJ if I was the Giants. I don't think he's probably even worth the 6th pick, but I just think that it's very realistic. If he falls to 6, they just take him, and he doesn't even have to play year 1. You can still play Daniel Jones and trade Daniel Jones after that if you need to. So yeah, I think JJ's a good option for the Giants.
There's been a lot of talk about this happening as well, especially in the last week or so. Peter Schrager, who's normally one of the most accurate mock drafters because of his contacts in the industry, he has the Giants taking JJ McCarthy as well. So I think it certainly is a possibility. Absolutely. Now the Titans at 7. This is an interesting one because all the quarterbacks have gone, so there's sort of no real teams looking for a trade up, you could say. To at least for a big price, but you've also got 2 great players who I mean, Joe Alt is a pick that most people would go for, but you've also got to consider the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent for the Titans, so dropping someone like Rome Odunze here might be great value. Not only for you then have another weapon for Will Levis, you also then have the future with the Calvin Ridley contract and also now Rome Odunze. So it is quite a tough one to pick. I don't know. I'm going to go against the grain. Most people go for but I feel like Rome Odunze at 7 here. If you're future-proofing your roster as well, especially if you believe that Will Levis is the guy, then that's I think it's a great pick in that aspect.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great fun pick for the Titans. I think it's probably the least realistic one we've had.
I know,
but the top 7. But he's going to go somewhere in this range, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, very, very good receiver. Like I said earlier, has a chance to be the best in the group. Very good at everything. He's very, very similar to. You don't want to compare people to Hall of Famers, but he's very similar to Devontae Adams in the way he plays. So yeah, very, very good player. Titans will have one of the best group of weapons in the entire NFL if they add Rome Odunze here at pick 7. Cool. Pick 8 then, the Falcons. should I just pick an offensive player for a laugh after about 8 years in a row? So this would be a team, I think, for me, that would be wanting a trade to trade out in this scenario. I'm trying to think. Let me look at the board. I need to see who could trade up. Have you got any teams that you want to trade up for an offensive tackle? Because basically we know that the Jets are going to take an offensive tackle if he's left Joe Alt on the board. Is there anyone
Yeah.
you want to come up with? Because I've got one team in the evens, but I want to give you a chance in the odds to see if there's anyone you found.
No, do you know what? I think I'm pretty set because the only thing would have been if the Titans took Alt, then I probably could have traded up with the Colts to draft Odunze. But that would be my only thing. But he's gone. So yeah, who's the team that you'd like to trade with?
Well, that was my question though. Do you think the Falcons would trade with the Saints in division for a tackle, or would the Falcons rather just not trade with anyone?
See, I think the player that the Falcons would take at 8, they'd probably take at 12, or at 14 anyway. I think you're going to get a top defensive player there. So it is.
Yeah, they will.
It depends what the offer is, I'd say.
Tell you what, I might. Or the Jets just trade up above Chicago instead. Then you're talking a very small.
That's
small
not a
trade
bad
up,
shout. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Jets. Small trade up. So you're talking 8-10, and then you give them maybe 111 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go for that.
Or do you want to switch second rounders as well? So, something like that, or something, I don't know.
Yeah, go for
like
that.
Yeah. Let's go for that.
Let's do that.
Sorry, third rounders. What am I talking about?
So I'm on the board with the Jets, and like I said, they need a tackle. I do think they would go Odunze if he was there, to be honest. I think they might trade up above the Bears for this exact same trade for Odunze if he was there. But I'm going to go Joe Alt, tackle out of Notre Dame. He is the best tackle for me. He does have a bit of weakness in his game in pass protection, but that's just because he's so crazy big. He's a huge, huge player. Ex-tight end, moved to tackle. So he hasn't played tackle for ages either. But yeah, I think he's by far the best tackle. And the Jets, they've got, 2 35-year-old tackles at the moment? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. And both those tackles, it's their last year of their deal. So I think Joe Alt's a perfect pick for the Jets.
Absolutely, especially, again, if they're future-proofing the roster, for even if Sado and Joe Douglas go, you've still got something you can build around for the next GM and everything. And yeah, because the Jets roster right now isn't very future-proof because they've gone all in. So it's a nice pick, and yeah, he certainly will get his chance to play. I expect with the amount of injuries that. The Jets' offensive line are very injury prone, so I think you'll get that as well. Okay, with the Bears at 9, now this is an interesting one because I think I'm torn between like a pass rusher, so the first pass rusher of the board, someone like a Latu, or I think many people feel like it's one of the best, or Dallas Turner, who tends to go quite high early on mocks as well, or someone like a Fuanga on the offensive line as well. So it's a difficult one. I think the Bears, if you get Latu next to Montez Sweat, then you've got a pretty decent pass rush. It's tough. And I think that's the thing with the Falcons as well. I think like they'd probably take Latu at 10, or someone like Dallas Turner who may fit Raheem Morris's defense more the next pick. I think
Latu's worries are obviously just the neck injury, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, but like as a player, I'd probably say from everything I hear, he's the best pass rusher. But like you say, with the history, obviously he medically retired, like fellow UCLA pass rusher Jalen Phillips. They may not feel suit, and they also made the trade for Montez Sweat at the trade line. So I'm going to go for Fuanga on the offensive line, just adding another pick and protecting Caleb Williams.
Nice, yeah, good player. Going to be a very good guard at least, which is always good in the NFL. So yeah, and that's a good pick. I'm back on the clock then with the Falcons. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go pass rusher, which I think people think they're going to do at 8. And yeah, I do agree that I think Latu is a better pass rusher than anyone. But like I said, I'm trying to keep it as realistic as possible, and I think he's going to fall more than this. And Dallas Turner is, for me, the second best pass rusher. So I'm going to go Dallas Turner, edge out of Alabama. He's a bit of a speed demon. Obviously, Montez Sweat, very good against the run, very powerful edge. Dallas Turner's a bit more of a kind of outside rusher, quick, kind of slightly lighter pass rusher than Montez Sweat, but I think they're a good combo. So, yeah, I'm going to go with probably the player they would have taken anyway at 8, and they get a couple of picks extra to move back a bit. So.
And from everything I read on Dallas Turner as well, he's a pass rusher who drops into coverage more than anybody else. And if you look at what Raheem Morris did with the Rams last year, he dropped a lot of his ends into coverage as well. So I think that everything I read, that's a good fit, and it's why he's going to the Falcons at 8 in some mocks and stuff as well, because it's a good scheme fit.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, New England at 11 here. Now this is an interesting one because they got so many needs. You could go with anything. So I think I'm just going to go for the best player available. And New England have a history of tight ends. So for me, I'm going to go for Brock Bowers here. I think he just screams like New England Patriots. Yeah, I'm gonna go for him.
Nice, very interesting. I'll be interested to see what the reaction is around on Twitter/X that night if they pick a tight end with all their needs. Cool. I'm on the board with the Broncos, who probably would have took Bowers there. I'm not going to take Bo Nix, which is a rumor going around.
I was listening to a mock draft with Thomas Dimitrov yesterday, and he took Bo Nix at 12.
Yeah, I think that they'll come back into the end of the first round to try and take Bo Nix, I think. But yeah, fair play to them if they take him at 12. That's a hell of a risk. So yeah, they need a lot of players as well, to be honest. They're another team that could probably do with an edge rusher. They could probably do with a corner. Wide receiver is definitely a need, but I'm not sure I would go wide receiver here. Let's go edge. And let's go Jared Verse out of Florida State. Again, I think Latu might fall because of the neck stuff. Jared Verse is a freak athlete, which Sean Payton does enjoy to draft. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Verse.
Awesome. It makes sense as well because the Broncos are certainly lacking a pass rusher. So they're staying in the AFC West, going over to the Raiders now. Then this is an interesting one because they are a QB needing team, but whether there's a QB on left that you could take at 13 is a different question. I also quite like Gardner Minshew as well, so I am sort of I'm sort of interested to leave that as an experiment. Offensive line are certainly right tackle on the interior. Obviously, Colton Miller is there, but he's a free agent coming up as well, so you may feel like there's a tackle you might want to take. And then there's also like their defense is terrible, especially like at defensive back. And I feel like Quinyon Mitchell probably many people's best corner. The only thing is he's played at obviously at small schools. So there is that, but I feel like for everything I hear, the value here is great. So I'm going to go for Quinyon Mitchell at 13 to the Raiders.
Yeah, love that pick. Exactly same pick that I would have done. I think that's very, very realistic as well with what they need because their defensive line is good now. Their offensive line is okay. Maybe
it's okay.
And their weapons are really good. So if you're not going quarterback here, I think cornerback makes a lot of sense. Cool. I'm on the board then with the Saints. I had them trying to trade up for Joe Alt earlier. Didn't get it done. Now I think they're going to get the second best tackle, including like Fuago's already gone. I'm going to go for Olu Fashanu out of Penn State to come in and play tackle. We'll put Trevor Penning at guard, or we'll put him on the bench and keep his craziness away from the team. But they need a tackle for sure. I do think Brian Thomas is an option here as well, receiver. But I just think they have often built through the trenches, to be fair, as a team. I know they do weird trade-ups, like the Olave trade-up now. Still a good player, but they traded like 6 picks for him, basically. So I think they normally build through the lines apart from that 1 year. So I'm going to go through Fashanu, who's only 21. So very good tackle prospect for me.
Don't be surprised to see him go defensive line here because they just just go grind through those guys, draft them early,
all the time,
and then let him go in free agents. It's just what they do. So don't be surprised to see that happen. You mentioned Brian Thomas. I'm going to take him here for the Colts. So I feel like they're probably they're probably a receiver away. Michael Pittman, I wouldn't say he's a receiver 1. He's a great receiver 2, though, if you have him next to Brian Thomas. And I feel like that'd be quite a cool, quite a big duo as well. And I feel like that might especially for Richardson, I think that might help. So yeah, let's go for Brian Thomas here. I toyed with a trade up for Dunze, but obviously he went. So I feel like if the Colts get a receiver here, I'd be very happy if I was a Colts fan.
Yeah, I think that's a fun pick with Richardson as well. And similar to what we said about Will Levis, they need weapons to almost see if he 100% is the guy, right? You don't want to. I know they obviously believe he is the guy and he played well in limited snaps, but yeah, you want to give him loads of weapons. So I think that's a really good pick. Seahawks now.
It's tough. It's so hard.
This is a prime. It is hard. It's a prime trade back spot for me. Could you scroll down the best available players board, please, a little bit?
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So I want them. They want to trade back in my eyes here. Or there's a certain player that I'm going to take. Okay. All right. I was going to trade back with the Bengals, but I think the Seahawks would probably lose the player in the next 2 picks.
Okay, Bengals, yeah. What do you reckon it would take?
I was going to trade with the Bengals, sorry, but I think they would lose.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to trade with the Bengals, sorry. I think our signal's a bit dodgy. Yeah, I'm going to take... they've signed Laken Tomlinson the other day, but I still think they need a guard. There is obviously a chance that they are going to be down a right tackle as well because of Abraham Lucas. So I'm probably going to take... let's go... Latham or Furtado. Let's go J.C. Latham here out of Alabama.
There we are. And they also they lost Damian Lewis to the Panthers as well on their offensive line. So they signed Tomlinson, but yeah, they could certainly do with another offensive lineman because their offensive line is young. But yeah, it's okay. But yeah, once you add him to Charles Cross and co, I think that's a good pick. Now that leaves me with the Jags at 17, and again, until they paid Josh Allen, I would have been going for pass rush here because I didn't think he'd come back as a free agent, but they have they've paid him. So there's again, you're looking at offensive line or you're looking at corner here, because they have Eden and also Tyson Campbell's a free agent at the end of the year as well. So it's tough. I'm gonna go for an interesting pick here. I'm gonna go for. I don't know. Oh, it's tough. I was thinking, let's go for a massive body. Let's go for like Amarius Mims, but I kind of want him to play. So it's.
I was going to say, who are you debating between here? Who's your last 2 or 3 options? Do you think for the Jags?
Well, okay, so I'm thinking Terry and Arnold or offensive line, so someone like Troy Fautanu. I think that's they're the 2 picks. We'll go offensive line. We'll go for Fautanu. I feel like that's probably the safest pick you could take there, especially with they could just protect Lawrence. I think because last year he got banned up towards the end.
Yeah. Good pick. I think that would be my pick here, to be honest, at 18. Before our signals died, it was Latham or Furtado that I thought the Bengals would want to trade up for if they could trade up. So both those guys have gone here now. So I think I'm going to go best player available on my board, which is defensive interior pass rusher Byron Murphy from Texas. Also, they've lost DJ Reader. Byron Murphy is a bit more of a pass rusher, but he can also stop the run. He's a big boy, and they definitely need help on the defensive line. I think Sam Hubbard's got 1 year left. Trey Hendrickson's signed an extension, but I think there's only 2 or 3 years left, and obviously he's an edge guy. And then in the interior, it's just BJ Hill. I can't remember who the other starter is, but they've only got 1 or 2 years left. So I think Byron Murphy is a good pick for the Bengals for sure on defense.
And I'm going to start a run on defensive tackles. I'm going to go for Johnny Newton here for the Rams. Again, just filling a different player, but filling an Aaron Donald sized hole. I think it certainly makes a lot of sense. It's more. I think he's one of the best players available, sort of on this board. And I think it makes sense for the Rams. Obviously, they got Kobe Turner last year, and they got some pass rush on the edge. Now, if you sort of add someone again, back to that interior, I think it just makes sense. Again, he's huge, so just a different player, but I think it makes sense just because obviously Aaron Donald's gone. But I would have gone for Murphy if he was there.
Yeah, good pick. Yeah, they're both good players, to be fair. I think the Rams will choose one of those two for me, or Latu. I think they'll go pass rush in the first round, unless they somehow get the gift of Brock Bowers on the board at 19. And then I think Sean McVay might struggle to turn that down. Pick 20 then. We are going for a trade up. From number 32, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to trade up.
Wow.
With the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. What do you want to give that?
Swap those two. Definitely go third this year. And then I think their own third as well next year.
So, yes, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's more realistic than just 1/3. But I'd love if it was 1/3.
And who are you coming up to get?
The Chiefs are coming up to get an offensive lineman that Brett Veach really loves. They're going to get Marius Mims, tackle from Georgia.
There we are. He goes.
Just before the Dolphins, in case they picked an offensive lineman, I think, as well, as part of their thought process here. And the Steelers have traded back before, so the Steelers are quite good at moving up and down the boards. So.
Okay, so, and also just protecting Mahomes makes sense as well. For me, at 21 now, picking the Dolphins. Now, if I'm Chris Greer, I'm running in. I'm picking the two. Again, edge isn't the biggest need for the Dolphins, but both Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will miss a chunk of this season because they're coming back from ACL and Achilles injuries, so they do have a lack of pass rush at the start of the season. They also can move on from Bradley Chubb, soon as well. So I think just best player available, I'd say here. That's always what Chris Greer does, but I think it makes sense to the Dolphins as well, especially with both Chubb and Phillips going off big injuries in Achilles and an ACL. So I think I'm gonna go for the two here. It's best player available, but it fits with everything. And I feel like the Dolphins, the more and more I hear, the more and more they could take a pass rusher. So I think that makes sense there.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take people that have medically retired and come back to play.
Exactly. Well, you've got two UCLA ends now that are both medically retired in Jalen Phillips and Latu. So there you go.
Exactly. Eagles now at 22 is difficult because the player they always get mocked, which I could easily pick here because it's at the top of this draft board that we're looking at. But they do also love offensive linemen and defensive linemen. I wouldn't go with a defensive lineman now. I think Latu would have been there for them. So let's go for Graham Barton, offensive lineman out of Duke. I won't say tackle because I actually think he could be a center or a guard. But the Eagles have got Lane Johnson, could retire as soon as next season. They've got their left tackle sorted. They've signed Landon Dixon, but he can play right guard, left guard, center. I think Graham Barton could play left guard, right guard, center, or right tackle. So I think it's a very Eagles pick to pick someone who could play all four positions apart from left tackle for me in the NFL.
Right. New England now. Back on the clock after
Bowers.
Bowers is there. Again, really, really interesting to see what they do. Again, probably we're looking at a trade down, I think, if I'm being honest. Especially because they're quite good at corner, and there's a lot of corners available. So, if there's a team like the Lions, for example, that are looking to trade up, to get a corner, I feel like that makes sense. Also, again, in fact, the Niners, I love this. Yes, the Niners kind of to get a corner. So whatever this takes, I'll do this trade. I think it might even take a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And maybe a third next year as well. I think.
Similar to the Chiefs trade then, isn't it? So you got a framework to go off.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
go
great.
we'll go for that. Again, New England just picking up as many picks as they can. They've been doing this whole draft. I think it makes sense, and there's not really the board doesn't really fall to them like that. So and if this doesn't go through, I'm going to force it. I'm going to force it through. I think it makes sense. Though.
Yeah, we'll say that.
Right. Niners come up and they're going to take Terry and Arnold. Again, it's between them or DeGene. I think again DeGene could make sense, especially in that defense. But I'm going to go for Arnold just because I feel like he's the one that goes higher normally. But yeah, for a corner, I think that makes sense. It's one of their big needs, and Javarius Ward's going to be leaving soon as well. I think so. It makes sense there.
Yep, I think that's a good pick for sure. Cool. I'm on the clock then with the Cowboys. Tough team.
I think as well, jump in the Cowboys for a corner as well because they're going to be after one as well as offensive line. I think that's a good trade for the Niners in that aspect.
Yeah, and I think Green Bay as well might want a corner. It's a good trade for you, I think. So I'm definitely not going to go corner with the Cowboys here. I'm choosing between a wide receiver because no one thought they would pick wide receiver when they picked CeeDee Lamb, and they still pick CeeDee Lamb, or an offensive lineman. So can you scroll down a bit to remind me what interior guys are?
I'll tell you what, I'll filter it for you. There you are.
Yeah, JPJ was the only other name I was thinking of. I was checking. I didn't miss anyone. Because they haven't got a centre. Tyler Biadasz obviously left to go to the Commanders, so they do need a centre. I think picking a centre in the first round is brave, but Jerry Jones kind of does whatever he wants. Yeah. So
they're definitely going to address offensive line at some point as well with the amount of players they've lost this season on the offensive line. They have to, otherwise, Dak's going to have been for a hard season.
Yeah, so it's AD Mitchell or JPJ. I'm going to go with JPJ. Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon can play left guard, right guard, center for me in the NFL. Cowboys need offensive line help. Tyler Smith's going to play left tackle, so their guard and center position has got worse over the off season. And yeah, Dak's probably last season as a Cowboy at the moment. It feels like so you want to keep him upright. He has those ankle injury history, doesn't he? So you want to keep him upright. So yeah, I think that's a good pick for them.
Right, and then that leaves me with Green Bay. And again, I think it's going to be a defensive player, so unless there's offensive line, but I don't think the value's there. So I feel like the most Green Bay Packers pick is probably Cooper DeJean. So I'm going to make it. It just screams the Packers, doesn't it?
Yeah, perfect pick. Exactly the reason why I didn't want to take Cooper DeJean earlier, because I feel like that's a realistic pick. I think he probably plays safety for them.
Yeah.
I think that's a good pick. Cool. Bucks at 26, another team that will probably be potentially trading back. This is a difficult pick. The edge rusher market is kind of completely gone on them. So I'm going to go corner. I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. Very good tackler, very good at blitzing. Doesn't get beat easily in contested catches. So very Todd Bowlesy kind of cornerback. So I'll go Kool-Aid with the most fun name in the draft as well this year.
Nice. Now Arizona. Again, it's a tough one because obviously you take a Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
So there's you could trade down to a team wanting to come up and grab AD Mitchell,
True.
Which I think makes a lot of sense to be fair. Or even someone looking to come and grab Bo Nix or Michael Penix.
What about the Ravens trying to get ahead of their rival in the AFC?
Yes,
the Bills?
yes, yeah. What would you give up for that?
I feel like we're on the third hype at the moment, so probably. What does pick 93? A smaller trade.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. And like we said, come up for AD Mitchell. Zay Flowers had a really good year. Played a lot more out of the slot. Obviously, Odell Beckham's gone. Played a lot out of X receiver. Bateman played X receiver, and he just doesn't look like he's going to have it. So I think AD Mitchell is realistic for the Ravens, and the Bills are obviously a rival in the AFC. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're back on the clock with the Bills.
Now I've kind of made things more difficult for myself, which is always fun. because they probably should take a wide receiver. Now, I'm not against taking offensive linemen, but we really haven't got many offensive linemen that we can take. We've kind of gone heavy in the early rounds on offensive linemen. This is a tough one. I'm going to go with. Still got Tyler Guyton, offensive lineman, on there, but I'm going to go with Troy. I'm going to go with Troy Franklin.
Oh, nice.
Because he is the closest to me in terms of style of play to Brian Thomas and AD Mitchell being a fast receiver that can play outside. I think there's probably one or two receivers I prefer than him, but I think for what they want, it seems like they want an outside kind of downfield stretcher. So I'm going to go with Troy Franklin out of Oregon for Buffalo.
And if you're the Lions, especially with their defensive backfield, you run and draft Nate Wiggins here. Like it just adding another corner. You lost Cam Sutton as well, and so just secondary is a big need for them. So if he's there, you just run in and take that pick. I'm back on the clock with the Cardinals again here as well, and again they could look to trade down again, but I'm going to go for Tyler Guyton. Again, you're looking for a tackle. He's a guy. I think he's more of a project, isn't he? But I think just
wait, aren't I on the cut?
No, because I traded back.
Oh
yeah. So I'm gonna take Tyler Guyton here. Again, it's kind of over a receiver and an offensive tackle. I feel like that's pretty good draft for the Cardinals, especially when they didn't trade back back earlier on. And then I'm back on the clock again with the Patriots. And I everything I read about this guy, I hear he's like the next Julian Edelman. So I'm going to go for Lad McConkey. Again, all I read is he's going to go. He could sneak into the first round. That's all I read. And I feel like Lad McConkey at 31 again with Brock Powers. Brock Powers is the most New England Patriots thing ever. So yeah, get it done.
I would have gone for a quarterback there, but I like the.
I think so, but yeah.
I think they like Michael Penix a little bit there.
Interesting.
But that's fine. I'm going to make the Steelers and every Steelers fan who follows this pod hate us because we're not going to make a Steelers pick. Steelers are going to trade back for the Raiders to come up.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So they're definitely. This is obviously for a quarterback. So I think they're going to need 77.
Yeah, do you think so? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and they're probably going to need a third or fourth next year as well. To be honest,
we'll go for a third as well.
Yeah, we'll force it.
But for the Steelers, I love this trade. For the Raiders, not so much. But
the Steelers and the double trade back have got loads of picks.
They had loads of picks in the top 100 anyway, but now you've got like tons of picks in day 2 and 3. So yeah, makes a lot. You can just cook. There you are. And so which QB are you going to draft?
I'm definitely going to draft Michael Penix.
Michael Penix.
This is what we think will happen situation here for me. Anyone who listens to the Go for 2 pod, and probably our other podcast we did actually, will know that I love Spencer Rattler. But I'm going to stay realistic and go Michael Penix because I think the Raiders would love him. And he can throw the ball all the way down the field, like to all these good weapons they've got. He's a bit of an older prospect. I think the Raiders will like Michael Penix more than Bo Nix.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, that concludes the draft as well. I think if he doesn't go to New England at like 31 there, then obviously I think the team will obviously come up and grab the 5th-year option. Makes sense. For me, I think Patriots fans are going to hate me passing on a quarterback twice, but I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm stuck in their old regime or anything. I just don't know what they're going to do. It's fascinating.
I think the only other teams, Panthers then would be at 33.
Mm-hmm.
We'd probably be taking wide receiver. Would we go or pass rusher maybe for Carolina? I guess.
Yeah. I think you'd or even offensive line again.
Another offensive lineman.
Yeah. After getting into free agency, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the Broncos are the only other team without a pick, and the Browns, and I think the Browns can pick any position, so it'd be impossible to pick for them. They'll just pick best player available probably, and that'll be them done. So yeah, that's all the teams then. If we do those 2 as well. Yeah. Right.
Your PFF screen is frozen.
I know. Yeah, I'm.
Anyone listening?
I'm getting off. Right, there we go. That is it for the 14 Yards NFL podcast today. I will put the full draft on the screen now as well, just so you can go and have a look at that. Just before you finish, Liam, how do you feel about that draft?
Yeah, it was good. I think we really nailed the middle section to the mid-20s with good picks. I think realistic picks as well. We probably didn't have anyone fall, I would say. Someone's going to fall.
I guess Latu and Nate Wiggins are probably the two that have fallen the most, but
probably fallen the most. Yeah. So I think it was good. I think it's just our top 10. I think it'll be interesting to see how realistic our top 10 looks. But I think there was some good picks. I think we had like 6 or 7 trades, and normally there's 5 to 7 trades. So I think it was a good mock. 5 quarterbacks going in the first round, which is always fun. It was good. It was good. There was no picks that I made that I hated. Troy Franklin was my least favorite, but the rest I quite liked. So.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like there's maybe a couple that I could have traded down on. Certainly because I maybe reach for a couple, but I feel like every pick I made sense to some degree for each team. But again, like it'll be interesting to see how close it is. But there's some guys that you wouldn't normally see in a first round mock in this as well. So we'll see how close. And knowing NFL teams, you're going to get some like third round guy coming in the back of the first round because it's just what happens.
You'll get one. Definitely, you'll get one for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be fascinating. So there might be one more podcast before the draft on Thursday. If not, I'll be back at the end of the week to recap everything, pick my winners and losers as I always do for the draft. My big win last year was the Texans. I love that, and that paid off. So I'm very happy I called that early on because a lot of people thought I was a bit dumb for that. But no, I just love what they did. So I'll be back to recap the entire first round and more at the end of the week. But for now, I've been Sam, he's been Liam, and this has been the 14 Yards NFL podcast, and we'll see you potentially after the draft.